Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. So let's kick things off with the topic that's been dominating the headlines for the past 5 days. Peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. Are we finally seeing movement after years of deadlock? So, how did this whole thing begin? And why did it suddenly feel like hope was trending again? Well, last week we showed you Putin's late-night monologue from May 11th, where he claimed that he was ready for direct negotiations with Kyiv in Istanbul on May 15th. Let's relive that masterpiece of vague promises together.
Не мы прервали переговоры в 2022 году. Это сделала украинская сторона. В этой связи, несмотря ни на что, предлагаем киевским властям возобновить переговоры, прерванные ими в конце 2022 года. Возобновить прямые переговоры, причем, подчеркну, без всяких предварительных условий. Начать предлагаем без промедления уже в следующий четверг, 15 мая, в Стамбуле, там, где они проводились ранее, и там, где они были прерваны. Мы настроены на серьезные переговоры с Украиной. Их смысл в том, чтобы устранить первопричины конфликта, выйти на установление долгосрочного, прочного мира на историческую перспективу. Не исключаем, что в ходе этих переговоров удастся договориться и о каких-то новых перемириях, о новом прекращении огня, причем о реальном перемирии, которое соблюдалось бы не только Россией, но и украинской стороной.
Not long after, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy confirmed that he had a meeting with Turkish President Erdogan lined up in Ankara for May 15th. But he added that if Putin was really coming to Istanbul, he and Erdogan would hop on a flight and join him. Because, let's face it, every decision in Russia goes through one guy and one guy only. And spoiler alert, Putin ghosted. Either he didn't believe Zelenskyy would actually show up, or more likely, he's the only one in the room not really interested in ending this war anytime soon. And let's be honest, we all know which one it is. Still, something rare happened. Actual direct talks between Ukraine and Russia took place. A day late, of course, because Russia keeping its word and showing up on time would be a first. Now, on one side was Putin's advisor, Vladimir, and on the other, Ukraine's delegation led by Defense Minister Rustem Umerov. Moscow's delegation arrived hoping to return with more than minibar snacks and a hotel invoice. But aside from agreeing in principle to a 1,000 for 1,000 prisoner swap, the talks delivered nothing else. But let's take a look at what Russia wanted out of this meeting, because remember, they're supposedly the one pushing for peace. Now let's dissect their demands. First demand, Ukraine must adopt a neutral status with no foreign troops or WMDs, which is rich coming from a country that uses its own foreign soldiers to start wars. Russia invaded, staged fake referendums, and literally paraded their foreign mercenaries 2 weeks ago. But sure, neutrality sounds fair. Maybe they also want Ukraine to have neutral weather on Russian holidays. Already annoyed? Strap in. Next demand, Ukraine must waive any and all claims for war reparations. Sounds like someone finally realized just how much destruction they've caused. But their logic? Yeah, we bomb your cities, but no, we don't owe you squat. That's not diplomacy, that's textbook terrorism with a flag. And the grand finale, recognition of Russia's control over Crimea and 4 other regions it only partially occupied. Oh, and Putin will consider a ceasefire after Ukraine pulls out its troops and the world nods politely and says, yep, those are definitely yours now. So once again, Russia walks in demanding Ukraine surrender half the country, and return offers a pause. Not peace, just a ceasefire. It's not a negotiation, that's a stick-up. It's like sharing a pizza with a guy who eats half of it, claim it's his, and then threatens you with a fork if you say otherwise. Now, so far, both sides have agreed to disagree, but even that meeting matters. It's a reminder that the theater of diplomacy still exists, even if the scriptwriters stopped believing in logic years ago. And yes, we are poking fun because humor is resistance, but let's be clear, real peace can't be built on ultimatums and propaganda. Justice comes first. Now, speaking of diplomacy, after his trip to Turkey, Zelenskyy didn't mince words. He called the Russian delegation a disgrace and a negotiation attempt a sham.
Рівень русських поки що мені офіційно невідомий, але із того, що ми бачимо, більше схоже на бутафорський рівень. Ми подумаємо, що будемо робити, які будуть наші кроки після розмови з президентом Ердоганом. Я думаю, у нас буде кілька годин для важливої розмови, дуже важливих рішень. Ми повинні розуміти, що за рівень російської делегації, який у них мандат, чи спроможні вони хоч щось самі приймати.
But Zelensky's critique wasn't the headline. Russia's response was. Enter Maria Zakharova, Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson and part-time insult generator.
И вот тут читаю, что Зеленский назвал бутафорным уровень делегации России во главе с Мединским с участием заместителя министра иностранных дел России господином Галузиным, представителем Минобороны, руководителем Главного управления Генштаба Российской Федерации. Кто использует слово «бутафорный»? Клоун? Неудачник, человек вообще с неизвестным образованием в отношении людей, у которых есть не просто базовое образование, ученые степени, заслуги перед Отечеством, кто своим трудом доказал уровень профессионализма, он их так называет бутафорией? Да кто он есть? На каком основании человек, который пришел к власти на информационных технологиях и огромных капиталовложениях, в него вложенных только для того, чтобы он работал как инструмент, вообще может усомниться в профессиональном уровне хоть кого бы то ни было? Это человек, который не имеет права так говорить о высочайших профессионалах своего дела.
Dear Maria, calling someone a clown for using the word sham isn't a rebuttal, it's a tantrum. Instead of addressing the content, you deflect with mockery. That's a little more than emotional trolling. And let's not pretend Zakharova speaks for herself. She's a megaphone for Kremlin's disinformation machine designed to discredit Ukraine, not engage with it. Now, Zakharova's outburst was classic information warfare, personal insults, conceptual manipulation, and smug superiority. Her goal? To shore up domestic support and paint every Ukrainian critique as unintelligent or unworthy. In other words, the Russian state doesn't want peace, it wants obedience. Now, if you're still wondering why a face-to-face meeting between Zelensky and Putin didn't happen, well, we've got you an answer. And no, it's not about security or protocol. It's about these ladies. Yep, the Putin squad, the Babushkas of Russian propaganda, out in force to remind the world that Putin has backup, moral, maternal, and fully scripted.
Отряды Путина услышали тебя, Зеленский. Приезжай сразу в Москву, Лефортово. Избавь от наркотической пурги весь мир.
Зеленский, слушай, давай сначала ты поговоришь со мной, а потом будешь разговаривать с Путиным. Мы ждем тех, у кого есть справка, что он не наркоман.
А ты, Зеленский, пролетаешь.
Because before you can even talk to Putin, even if you're the president of Ukraine, you have to get past the gatekeepers, his loyal grannies. These women know Putin better than his own PR team. They've got his quotes printed on their throw pillows. So, Mr. Zelensky, before you aim to have direct talks, remember, there's a waiting list. 30 imperial nannies with homemade banners and deep beliefs in Putin's words as scripture. Sheesh, equal parts hilarious and horrifying. And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to DPP World.